Arabia, and they went back to Yemen to start their next plan of attack against us. We don't need to have that happening here in Illinois.
Sure. Let's talk about immigration then, because that's kind of almost ties into it. You have a person that was coming in from a foreign country through another country that got through and almost set a bomb off on a plane. What are your thoughts on immigration? Do you believe that illegal immigration or illegal immigrants should give amnesty? Chicago's a sanctuary city.
Right.
How does that play into the role of state government when they would basically go against state government regulation, because Chicago's saying no, if they're here,
Right.
they get to stay here. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, there are, most every law that is enacted by the General Assembly exempts the city of Chicago. So they have a funny way of doing it. They say that this applies to everybody except a city of more than 3 million. Well, gee, I wonder who that is. So I don't believe in sanctuary cities. I think they subvert the law. I know that the U.S. immigration system is overwhelmed. We have border issues here, not like you would see in the South or Southwest, but we do have people coming into Illinois because of Chicago or because of easy access by transportation to get here, that are causing us extreme financial hardship. We're paying for these people to be here. Many of them are on some sort of public assistance or receiving health care or other benefits from us. I don't think that that's appropriate. At the same time, we do need to protect legal immigration. That's what our country was founded upon. That's what built this nation. But the people that have come here legally and want to come here and work or to study or to be a part of a family are not the problems. They are not the hundreds of thousands of people that are overburdening us and creating a real, I think, critical situation for us to pay attention to, both in law enforcement, on the public safety side, but also on the financial side for the benefits we're providing. So I don't believe in sanctuary cities. I think we need more help in the immigration system, and it's certainly an issue for us as a major state.
Well, one of the issues that do come up quite a bit between federal and state is where the powers lie. And in the 10th
Right.
Amendment, there are some states that have pushed for legislation basically to tell Washington that they have their limits. And,
Right.
and some of that went towards gun control, but it can be used in a lot of areas. And I want to get your thoughts on the 10th Amendment and how do you see yourself in concert with the federal government? Do you see Illinois becoming more adversarial when they believe that the federal government's overstepping their bounds, or do you feel it's the current system of tying money coming back to the state of Illinois to following whatever mandates they give as being the status quo?
Well, I think when you talk about mandates and the money that might follow,
Right.
going back to my initial statement, we have to be prepared to say no to some things. And if the federal government says, if you don't do this, you won't get the money,
Right.
we have to be prepared to say, that's fine. We don't want to do it, and we're not going to worry about those dollars because it's going to have a greater impact or more cost to us than the money we may receive. I absolutely believe in states' rights. I think that those powers that are not specifically designated for the federal government are reserved for the states. That's what the Constitution says. It's very clear. At the same time, more locally, we have the same issue happening with the General Assembly in Springfield. They're passing unfunded mandates and rules and regulations on down to counties and municipalities and townships, which then are directly impacted onto the citizens of Illinois. And many cities are saying, we are not going to do what you tell us to do because it's not within your rights to do that. And that's what we're telling Springfield,
Right.
and that's what Springfield needs to tell Washington.
Right.
And they have to realize that it goes both ways. But we certainly need to promote our independence. We have some autonomy. We need to exercise that. Just because the federal government says we should do something doesn't mean we absolutely should. And I think the same is true for a lot of communities, that we need to tell Springfield, no, you're not going to force something on us. Recently, the Video Gaming Act that was approved as a part of a funding mechanism for a state capital bill disregarded local prohibitions on video gaming. In fact, if there was a city that had already outlawed or banned video gaming, video poker machines and the gaming that comes with that, the state law preempted that and said, it doesn't matter that you have already prohibited it, now you have to have it unless you take another action to prohibit it again. That's clearly not right. The same thing is happening in Illinois as happening with the federal government. We have to draw the line.
Interesting. What's your thoughts on the Second Amendment?
I support the Second Amendment. I support all of them, actually. People pull out the specific ones, but I believe that people have a right to bear arms, carry. I believe in concealed carry. I own 2 handguns and a shotgun myself, both for recreational use and for personal protection in my home. I'm a member of the NRA, and I think that people should be able to exercise that right. Concealed carry is an issue that a lot of people talk about. You can see in a number of states where crime has gone down, where concealed carry is legal, and I think it's something that Illinois should strongly consider and I would support.
Well, we talked about this with state candidates, mostly for the reason that Chicago right now is going to be going before the Supreme Court because of a recent decision on D.C.
Right.
And I know that people are saying that their gun laws are unconstitutional. So that may actually make a very different place in the state for gun laws there. So you would be for a concealed carry law in the state of Illinois.
Yes, absolutely. And I do think that the recent federal action in Washington does have merit. I mean, it allows for possession. It also does address some of the bigger guns and things that really no human should be, having in their bedstand.
Right.
I don't think you really have a right to have a bazooka and tote it around town. But I do think that the Second Amendment applies, and people should have a right to carry a weapon if they so choose. And of course, if there's training and other things in place to be able to protect them and others.
Okay. What about the idea of, do you think taxpayers should be forced to fund programs that they morally disagree with?
Well, that's a rather broad question. I think that there are probably programs that are at either the local, state, or federal level that someone has a moral objection to. You would have some religious sects that don't believe in automobiles or transportation routes, and so maybe they don't think we should build a road through somewhere. That's not what you're talking about, I don't think. But I think that when you talk about stem cell research or abortion or publicly funded issues that are very sensitive, that are deeply rooted in morality, it is not something that we should force on the public. There are private sector industries that can do that type of research if they choose to with private funds. And so in general, I would say no, we should not force funding morally objectionable programs on the people. But how you decide what all of those are may be more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a lot of concern amongst, if you take a poll and ask people if they're pro-life or pro-choice, it's actually the majority of people say pro-life, yet a lot of legislation and things held up by the court are a favor of the other side.
Right.
Versus, for example, if you take a poll on should we have national defense or should we have roads going through there, I think you have a 95 percentile plus that will say, of course. And
right.
I think this question was stemmed that way because there is other areas where people could have moral objections, but this seems to be a hot button amongst a lot of people, especially because if you just look at strict polling, it seems like it's overwhelmingly opposite of what the majority of people would like to see.
Right. Yeah, I don't think this issue is talking about conscientious objectors and the expenditure of money on national defense or public safety. But some people might. But those are not the issues that are the real sensitive issues, and I think we should back off. There's been a lot of backdoor funding of some of these programs that were just done with the discretionary dollars, or quite frankly, they were being deceitful in what they were saying the money was going to be used for. And there's no place for that, I don't think, in Illinois government.
Well, I appreciate your time, and we have one last question, and that is your opportunity to look in that camera and tell the voters why they should vote for you for Lieutenant Governor, and your qualifications, and what you think your role as Lieutenant Governor is.
Okay, well, again, I'm Brad Cole. I'm the mayor of Carbondale, Illinois. The job of Lieutenant Governor is an important job. Now, it's been highlighted recently because of the impeachment of Governor Blagojevich and the ascension of Governor Quinn. But this is an important job. The Lieutenant Governor has statutory requirements to chair the Illinois Rural Affairs Council, to chair the Illinois Rivers Councils to oversee the Illinois Main